What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Australian Elite and Elite Qualifier Leagues analyzed game week 1. Let's have a look at who were the top performers of the Australian Elite and Elite Qualifier Leagues game week 1. Let's get into it. Let's start off with the tables. But before we get into the tables, if you're new, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure to comment down below how your game week 1 has gone. Let's get into the video. Alright, first up, the tables. First of all, these graphics from FPL SideNet Pete are absolutely amazing. I must give him a shout out for that. FPL SideNet on Twitter. Make sure to go and give him a follow. On your left, you've got the Australian Twitter League. This is open to everyone. League code you can find it on the Australian FPL Twitter account. It's open to anyone who's in Australia, New Zealand, and Pacific Islands. In the middle, you've got the Australian Elite League. That's the top 32 managers in the league. And the second division, basically, or the Elite Qualifier, is the next 32 managers who qualified for it. So let's look at the Australian Twitter League, which is open to everyone. David Ellis, 86 points, right on top. The highest out of all three leagues. He scored the highest. Same as Ilhan Kaplan. Both of them top for 86 points on tied. In the Australian Elite League, we have had three number ones. Tian, Luke, and Angus, all three 79 points. We'll be having a look at their teams and seeing what's slightly different as well. And meanwhile, in the Qualifier League, Lawrence, Redmond, Chris B, and Alex Inns, all three with 85, 84, and 83 points. Jeremy as well with 83 points. All of them, interestingly, also scoring higher than the Qualifier League as well. So we'll have a look and see what was slightly different between the Elite League and the Elite Qualifier League. And also we'll look at some of the teams in those leagues as well. Let's get started first with the template team. Now, this is from FPL Mini League Arena. You can check their app on your phone, Android or iOS. This is the template teams. On your left, you've got the Elite, and on your right, you've got the Elite Qualifier, along with the percentages of the template. So this is the template teams in those respective leagues, and almost exactly the same thing. Like, the team is exactly the same. It's only the percentages that are slightly different. The interesting percentage difference, which also explains maybe in the points that you'll see later on, would be the no Salah. Sorry, not the no Salah, the 200% Salah in the Elite Qualifier. Meanwhile, the Elite League only had about 178% in terms of ownership for Salah, although the Elite League had higher ownership for Gabriel Jesus, who didn't score. Interesting. And a higher ownership for Kane as well, who didn't really score. But Elite Qualifier happened to have Kane and Jesus as well, but at a much more lower ownership. Another change that I noticed, which was slightly interesting, was the more higher owned ownership towards Mason Mount compared to the Elite Qualifier. Trippier was more owned in the Qualifier League compared to the Elite League. So a lot of the performers from Game Week 1, in terms of ownership as well, if you look at like who had higher ownership towards certain leagues, you can see the performers. You can see why like there's slight differences in points as well. To give you context, the average game week net points for the Elite Qualifier League came in at about 70.2, and the Elite Qualifier League came in at about 65.1. So there's about what 5 points, almost 5 points difference, and it kind of, the differences are mainly between, you have that Salah ownership that's slightly different. You got the Trippier who came in with a clean sheet. Jesus and Kane wouldn't make too much of a difference, but those are the tiny changes that you see. Now, to give you a bit more context, this is the ownership. On the left, you've got the Elite League. On the right, you've got the Elite Qualifier League. Salah is owned by almost every manager in the Elite Qualifier League. Meanwhile, the Elite League is slightly different. Salah is owned by a bit less. 90.6% of the managers in the Elite League only own Salah. However, Trent is owned by 100%. In the Elite Qualifier, it's not the same case. The rest of the managers are very similar that you'd see here. Interestingly, here you have a higher ownership of Chelsea players in the Elite League. James and Mount next to each other in 62.5% and 50%. Only James in the Elite Qualifier League has the same level of ownership, almost the same level of ownership at 57.6. However, Mason Mount has only about 30.3 in terms of ownership. Um, Apart from that, there isn't too much of difference. The standout though, Kuleveski in the Elite League came at about 12.5%, and that's one of the reasons why you see two of the three managers in the Elite League tied at number one. That was also a key player, key differential amongst the Elite League in terms of managers and how they performed. So that's kind of the ownership right now in terms of the two leagues, the slight differences. Interesting to see how Salah is slightly different. Um, and that also related in the captaincy, because captaincy, every single manager in the Elite Qualifier League went for Salah. There was a slight difference in the Elite League where Kane, three managers for Kane and one went for Son. Meanwhile, everyone else went for Salah. So that also explains why there's a difference in the game week net points between the like why there's like a 5 point difference in the average between the Elite Qualifier and the Elite League, because Kane and Son didn't really score much, so there was a slight drop in terms of averages as well. Um, but there was a chip played in the Elite Qualifier League, and that manager is Lawrence Redmond. He's the only manager who played a chip amongst the two leagues, and I mean, I had to put his team here because shout out to you, man. Like, that's what, 20 points on the bench. Like, that is an actual, like, that's a really good bench boost point. Like, even if you had a double game week, you'll be aiming for 20 points. And he's managed to knock it off in a single game week, in game week one. Now you don't have to even worry about the bench boost and have to think about trying to fix a squad and build a squad for a bench boost. And to be honest, that bench also, you don't have to worry about having to remove the players now, because they won't be like, because you have value stored in them. um like Drewsbury Hall is only like at 5 million, Liam Bay the same, Rodrigo very similar priced as well. So it paid off big time with Drewsbury Hall mainly, and Rodrigo as well. Both of them came with returns, and I mean, that's a very successful bench boost if I was to say so. And that's the first chip that has been played out of the two leagues, and the only chip that has been played so far. So congrats to Lawrence Redmond, very successful bench boost. Now let's get into the other teams. For that, I'm gonna have to switch over to the Fantasy Premier League website to try and show you guys a bit more. So let me do that right now. All right, now this is the Australian Elite League. This is the table basically. This is how it's going for all 32 managers up here. I'm currently at sixth. So we'll have a look at my team if you guys want to, but let's look at the top three first of all: Tian, Luke, and Angus. Now, I've got Tian's team here, I've got Luke's team here, and Angus' team here. Now let's look at Tian's. Pretty straightforward backline of Trent, Robbo, Cancelo, James, and Ward. Kuleveski, like shown on the thumbnail, he's the one who came different, along with Salah and Haaland. The rest are all very similar. And interestingly, Luke has the almost exact same team um as Tien. The only difference is the bench, basically. The bench is the only difference between the two managers. The starting 11 is the exact same thing. Interestingly, though, Angus has a slightly different starting 11. He went in with the back five compared to the back four the other two managers went. And he didn't have a Kuleveski, but his points came mainly from a Trippier and an Edison, where Tien and Luke, they missed out with regards to having Ward and the two Liverpool defenders who lost their clean sheet. So that's where the points differences are. And I mean, 6 points on the bench as well from Angus, but you probably wouldn't have expected Da Silva to score a goal or get any returns, to be honest. So it'll be interesting to see the two different formations between the three managers to see what changes will that have in game week 2. We'll have to see how it goes. But looking at fourth, the two managers tied for fourth, Tom and Pradeep. Both of them have gone with a strong backline. Again, you see the standard Trent, Cancelo, James, and Robertson slash Walker, one of the two. Um, Same thing here with Pradeep. He's gone with one Chelsea defender, a Liverpool defender, a City defender. He's actually gone City double up and Liverpool double up. So you got the standard Trent, James, and Cancelo, and added to that, he's gone big at the back with Diaz, Robertson, and also Ramsdale. So he's basically a big at the back manager in this case, but he's also managed to fit in Salah and Haaland as well, along with Neto, Martinelli, and Gabriel Jesus. So we'll have to see, will these slight squad differences make a change in game week 2. We'll have to see which technique kind of works out. Right now you got most of the managers, some managers with like more of a spread the funds approach, some managers with a big at the back approach. Me personally, I'm just behind in sixth, and I've got a premium approach. So we'll see, three different formation, I mean three different types we've spoken about right now. But I've also got my standard of I've got a City defender but not Cancelo. So I've gone Trent, Ake, James, and White, along with Ward. The rest are almost similar in terms of the other managers. The only difference being I've got Heung-Min Son in the premium compared to the others who have a spread the funds and bigger the back option as well. So that is basically the top teams right now, at least the top 6 in the Australian elite. Let's have a look at the elite qualifier. Now this is the elite qualifier. We've got, like I mentioned, Lawrence, who played the bench boost right on top there, but this is the rest of the league. Tian is in here because he's managing both leagues, so we kind of have to ignore him. My podcast mate Rushant at 12th, but 73 points, not too bad as well from him. He's also in there, and this is the rest of the league as well. Should we have a look at maybe the first three? Let's have a look and see what's the differences. There's a point separating the first, like, let's have a look at the first four because they're all above 80 points. All of them scored higher than the Australian elite as well. Like I mentioned, we saw Lawrence's team bench boost successful, big at the back as well. Got Sessegnon as well, which is interesting. Will Sessegnon continue to play? We'll have to wait and see. Perisic might start, that's a possibility, but Sessegnon put on a really good performance. um Meanwhile, Chris has gone for a double Liverpool defense, a double City defense with Edison and Cancelo. I've seen a couple of Edisons now, and he's got Zinchenko and Reece James. The rest is basically the midfield and forward line is a very standard midfield and forward line amongst all these managers. You got Salah, you got Martinelli, you got Gabriel Jesus, you got Haaland, you got either Neto or Leon Bay, or you got both, one of the two. That's basically the standard amongst most of the managers. So the template is very strong. Um, the question is, which player will shake up the template? Let me know in the comments what you think. Which player will shake up the template? Could it be a Darwin Nunes? We'll have to see. We at the moment don't have any transfers. Like there's no transfers to show you guys because it's just game week 1. So when we do the game week 2 analysis, I'll be able to see actually have any managers made any transfers, who did they take out, who did they move out, and who did they bring in. So we'll be able to analyze all of that as well come game week 2. But for now, we're just having a look at the squads again. From Chris, strong performance, 84 points, big at the back, paid off. Zinchenko mainly paying that off as well. Alex, next up. Again, the double Liverpool defense along with a Diaz, Rich James, Ramsdale. I mean, you can see a lot of managers having a very strong defense. In almost all the teams, very strong defense. Salah, Martinelli, Kuleveski here as well, Haaland, and then obviously you got your standard of Leon Bailly and Gabriel Jesus. So a lot of managers with a 4-4-2 or a big at the back in terms of a back five. That seems to be the format that a lot of managers are going with. We'll see whether that changes over the course. Will there be a couple of players who will shake up the template? We'll have to see. Kuleveski is a slight differential, and he's paid off for quite a few managers, which is why they've reached the high 80s and also very close to that 100k rank as well for some of these managers. So yeah, that is basically the Elite Qualifier League. Did I miss anyone else? Yes, Jeremy. Again, 83 points. The other manager who scored higher than the Elite League as well. James, Cancelo, Ramsdale, typical backline. And again, the double Liverpool defense. So a lot of these managers, double Liverpool defense. We've seen a couple double City defense. There was one double Chelsea defense as well. So if a clean sheet does happen to go from one of these teams, these managers are going to be impacted. Interestingly, here you got Tony. Tony is a nice good shout as well. I think pretty good differential here in this team. The rest is very standard. Saka is the other differential. I think even though it's at 8 million price bracket, we've seen quite a few more Kulevskis in terms of covering that Spurs side of points. Will Saka remain? We'll have to see in the teams. But yeah, final look at the two leagues. This is the elite qualifier. Right now, these are your basically top 20. So if your name is here, congrats. Huge shout out to all of you guys. And also the elite league, where we got three number ones right now. Will it change? We'll have to have a look. Will someone else actually play a chip in game week 2? We'll have a look and see. So far, one chip played. When will the next chip be played? We'll have a look all next week. Let me know again, what type of analysis do you like to see? It's game week 1, so we don't have too much information to share because no transfers have happened and all of that. We don't have any of that information. We'll probably get a bit more of that in game week 2. But let me know in the comments what you thought about this. And yeah, if you're new, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're part of the Australian community, Australian FPL community, make sure to join the Twitter league as well. And yeah, interact with us on Twitter. You can catch me on Twitter at Ryan_MS28. You can also catch FPL Sidenet and FPL Planner, who are the other two organizers of the leagues. Make sure to check them out. Follow them on Twitter as well. And I'll see you guys all for another analysis next week. And tomorrow, we got a Game Week 2 podcast live on YouTube. So make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified when we go live. I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.
Hold me close till I get out.